Everybody got their phone turned
Plus there
off?
are charges to sell, I think.
I'm not ready yet.
Maybe.
Can you see Gracie first, real quick, because there's only one person up there and she needs somebody. Can you guys see her first this morning?
Who is it?
Gracie, she's on the agenda, but there's not, she only has 2 people upstairs right now, and she can't leave one up there by themselves.
We won't put her in. Brittany? Call this meeting order. All stand. Place the flag. Pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good to see you. Roll call. Britton Luther.
Present.
R.J. Donovan.
Here.
Tim Yocum, I am present. Approval of minutes.
Make a motion we approve minutes.
Second the motion.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approval of claims.
Make a motion that we approve claims.
Second the motion.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approval of payroll.
I'll make a motion to approve payroll.
Second the motion to approve payroll.
All in favor? Discussion. Excuse me. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Treasurer's report. I have a treasury report I'll read here briefly. Interest earned on main checking account. It's at 0.9%. In 15 days, we earned $38,907. American Rescue Plan, we earned $1,577. Trust Indiana, $455. First Financial CD, is $105. The grand total interest earned this month on our money was $41,045. So that's what the treasurer's report. Open for public comment. If someone has something you want to say, give you a few minutes. We'll move on. First of all, we're going to have a change on the agenda today as far as the order. We got the Regional Public Defender introduction of Michael Slagle. If you want to do that today.
That's me.
Come on up to the podium and identify yourself, please.
Michael Slagle, the new Chief Public Defender for the 3-county Public Defender Office, Vermillion, Park, and Fountain. So I think I started effective July 1st.
Okay.
Been doing this for quite some time as a public defender. 22 years maybe. Excited about this new opportunity. This is, as far as Indiana goes, the first regional office in the state.
Really?
So all eyes will be on us, and I hope not to let anybody down. So.
I think your resume speaks for yourself there. They made a good choice on this.
Thank you.
It looks like you've been doing this since '98.
That's correct.
Something like that. Anyway, we have an office ready for you down at the EOC, and it's temporary until, this way gives you a chance to wear into the job a little bit, and then you help make the selection of where your permanent office will be and what the amenities might be at that point. So
I appreciate
lots of
that.
choices.
So.
And welcome to the county.
All right, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And what's the other? Is Fountain?
Fountain and Park.
Yeah. So.
But Vermillion's the biggest piece of the pie out of those 3. So.
Yeah, we're the big dog.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. We have another change. We're going to go ahead with Bruce, County Prosecutor, and
Thought you wanted Gracie.
What?
She's not here yet. Oh, she's in the back? Okay.
Go ahead, Gracie, next, is that okay? You're next.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Bruce.
I've known Mike Slagle for more years than probably both of us really want to admit. And you know, there are a lot of lawyers that I think can represent defendants, can represent the prosecution. But I don't think you could find a better lawyer, character-wise, than Mike Slagle to handle the job that he's about to do. Mike is straightforward. He deals with you honestly, and I don't know who the other candidates were. There are probably some really good lawyers in there and really good people. But Mike Slagle is an excellent choice, and he will, I'm sure, do the office proud and the county. And I'm glad you're up here, Mike. And he also fights hard, so you know it's not like I'm saying nice things because he's a buddy of mine. I mean, it's you go to court with Mike, you're gonna get what you ought to get, and that is a tussle. So I'm glad you're here, and I see you. I know Nancy. If I could spend just a minute with her, the board that ended up choosing Mike, I think works without pay, and I know they have worked extremely hard. Really, really good people on there, and very conscientious, and so thank you. And the more well organized the public defender office is, the better the system in court works. So I look forward to him starting, and frankly, he started before July 1 because we had a Zoom conference call sometime in third week of June, and he was in on it. So he's a hard worker, and he'll do everything that's needed. So Tim, you asked me to come today. You had some questions. I'm glad to be here. I'll answer anything that I can answer. There are ethical prohibitions which would prevent me from discussing specific cases and things like that, but other than that, I'm an open book. The other thing is, I brought with me today Chris Reed. He's my chief deputy prosecutor, and Chris, he knows Mike well. They probably were sitting opposite each other many times in Terre Haute. I hired Chris out of Vigo County. When my chief deputy retired, there was one person that I wanted, that I was going to make turn down the job before I looked anywhere else, and that was Chris Reed. Chris is a country boy from Putnam County, raised right, raised on hard work. Originally, we hired him in my private practice at the Mann Law Firm, gosh, in the early turn of the century, 2000, 2001, something like that. And he's a hard worker, smart guy. He ended up going on to the Vigo County Prosecutor's Office. And I am confident when I say if there's anyone in the state of Indiana that knows more criminal procedure, especially when it comes to drug cases, search and seizure, things like that, I haven't met that lawyer. He's a fantastic prosecutor in person. He was appointed judge in Vigo County by Governor Holcomb, and I was lucky to catch him on a day when he was open to leaving the bench and coming into my office. So, and I told him to chime in if there's anything that he knows that he wants to say, or you're free to ask him questions too. It seems like the main question is jail population. And, you know, I was thinking about that, and there are lots of ways to get into jail, and very few ways to get out. The ways you can get in are commit a misdemeanor in front of a police officer. He can arrest you and take you to jail. Commit a felony, and the officer believe he have probable cause to arrest you and take you to jail. Or they can write up paperwork called a probable cause affidavit. And what that is an officer swearing to these facts about what has happened and what his or her investigation has shown. And then we take that probable cause affidavit and we analyze it, and there are some cases where we think more needs done, or we'll send our investigator out, or we'll ask for some follow-up. And then once that gets right, we will file that. And there's then one of two things will happen. Court, we either find that probable cause exists and issue a warrant, okay, or the court could find probable cause exists and issue a summons for the arrest. And the big difference there is a summons is if John Spur is the court and he issues a summons for Chris, it's basically sending him notice of the date and time he has to be in court. If he doesn't show up on that date and time, he could be subject to arrest. A warrant, on the other hand, if I'm going to use John as an example as judge, if John issues a warrant, okay, warrants follow a specific language, and it is the court commanding, and that word is in there, I command, commanding all law enforcement to arrest Chris when they see him or to go get him. Now, what happens a lot of times is a warrant, say Judge John will issue the warrant, and it will be for the arrest of Chris, and sometimes they figure out they got a warrant out for him. Okay, there's some computer programs that I wish were not accessible to everyone, but they are for a fee. So if that case is not sealed, Chris can look at that and say, yep, they issued a warrant, I'm out of here, and he can go to Missouri or wherever, okay? And he might be driving around in Missouri, but he's got a tail light out. So an officer pulls him over and runs his ID and says, aha, there's a warrant for his arrest in Vermilion County, Indiana. Now on that warrant, there's a choice to extradite or not to extradite. A lot of our warrants are for or seek extradition, and some don't. If it is a high-level felony, there may be a case where we didn't, but I'm going to say we always ask that the person be extradited. In fact, just recently, I think it was the U.S. Marshals helped us find a guy out in California that had left this area, and we charged him, and they got him, grabbed him, and brought him back. There's a fee involved for that, but they do phenomenal work. So either a summons or a warrant is going to get you into court. What's going to get you into jail is that warrant, okay? Or you can have your case already processed and they say, okay, Chris, you're guilty and you're going to do 180 days in jail. And then an officer would take him to the jail and book him in. Or they could say, all right, 180 days on probation. And probation has become something that, I mean, it's used a lot, and we're seeing, I think, without really going through case by case, I think we're seeing more revocations of probation now than I've probably ever seen. And that is that the court says, Chris, we're going to put you on probation, you got to behave well, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, and you can't go in these places. And, you know, some people take longer to learn than others, and Chris might leave there and go do what Chris wants to do. And the probation department will find him, and they will file a petition to revoke his probation so he can be picked up on that warrant. There's a community corrections violation, which is referred to as in-home detention. We could say, and I'm going to keep using you, that Chris, we're going to put you on maybe some would say a higher level of probation, in-home detention. You're going to wear an ankle monitor, and he cuts off his ankle monitor and goes where he wants to go. So we get a warrant. The warrant gets served on him, and they take him to jail. So there are a number of ways that we're getting population in. It can be as simple as a fight downtown that gets both people taken to jail. It can be as complicated as a U.S. Marshal finding you in California and going through the extradition process and finally getting you back in our jail. When I say there's only a couple of ways out, you can post a bond. The judge writes a bond schedule in every county, and they differ some. Really the only way out of jail is through a judge, okay? You can post a bond, but that bond will have been set by the judge on their bond schedule. Or at his initial hearing, when he's first in court, he can ask to be released on his own recognizance. Now, I don't know, probably 2 or 3 years ago now, maybe longer, there was a big push to do this pretrial release, and Mike and I, I'm sure, have very different opinions about pretrial release. I think the big goal of it is a good one, all right, but it basically will take, use Chris again, into jail, and they run him through this score sheet, okay, and you get so many points for being this old and so many points for having this many convictions, and it comes up, spits out a score, and if he's under the score to hold him on the bond schedule, he's released with a date given to him to show up in court. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. If the score is high enough, then he is held on that bond schedule, so he has to post $10,000 cash or whatever it might be to get out of jail. But there's a lot of ways into the jail, but to get out, you either have to be released by the judge, or you have to post a bond, or you have to score on this pretrial release form where you are OR'd, okay? Now, obviously there are ways like going to the hospital and stuff like that, but the main ways is you post a bond or you are released on your own recognizance. That probably covers 99% of the cases, one or those two. So when it comes to jail population, there's a lot of factors of people who are in it. The thing that has hammered us, and I think has hammered every county, is, I think it was 2014, somebody came up with the grand idea that level 6 felons would no longer be sent to the DOC unless they met certain criteria, had over so many days to serve, or was in there on multiple charges. but the vast majority of level 6 felons were left for the county to deal with. And if you look, I think you guys get it, and I'm not going to go through it because I do think it's a restricted form. If you look at the jail population form, there is a total number of people. I think today we're at 69. Yesterday I think it was 67 maybe. But I think there's like 23 of those people, it says, sentenced. So if you go through those 23 and break them down, I think they're all felonies. Okay, some of them are a higher level felony than a level 6, and they're awaiting a ride to the DOC. And in my email back to you, I said Mike would probably, the sheriff would be best to explain that that is not easy for the jail either. I mean, nothing is. Nothing at the jail is easy anymore. The DOC for a while was only accepting so many people from each jail, and so sometimes we get some people out there at the jail that are waiting to go to the DOC, and every now and again on that jail list you'll see 4 or 5 of them have shipped out. Okay, so there's like 23 sentenced. The ones that are not awaiting a ride to the Department of Corrections are serving a level 6 felony sentence. So if you take, let's say we have 69 and 23, I believe under the law that came into effect for July 1st and after, it doesn't apply to anyone convicted before then, but if they are convicted after June 30th, so July 1st forward of 2022.
Is that last year or
this year, 2022, just a few days ago, 3-4 days ago. If you're convicted of a level 6 felony, now you can go to the DOC. The really great thing about it is that they don't have this number of days that you have to also get over that hurdle. Like there, it used to be you had to have 365 actual days yet to serve. You don't have to meet that criteria. So of the 23, all of them would be capable of being sent if the judge sends them to the DOC, sentences them to the DOC. So if you just do that math, you're talking instead of 69, 46, okay, which is a completely different world so far as jail population is concerned. So this law, I mean, it'll take a bit to actually see the effect of that. But the other, I think, great thing about it, and I think where it will be a tool to actually help some of these people, is, you know, there's been a big push over the last few years of getting people treatment, all right? And I think we have worked hard with the court, the public defenders, and probation. There are some really top-notch treatment facilities, but in the more rural areas, there are fewer of those, all right? Most of the ones that we kind of have access to and can use are either in Terre Haute or Indianapolis. So the DOC has mental health treatment and they have drug treatment programs. So what this will open up is the ability to take a person convicted of possession of methamphetamine, possession of heroin, fentanyl, syringes, things of that nature, level 6 felonies, assuming they're not over a certain quantity. And it will allow the court to sentence them to the DOC, where they can now take advantage of these programs, the mental health programs, the drug treatment programs. and they're not in our jail, which is, I think, going to, it's a great change, and I just wish it hadn't taken so long to come. But and I think it's you know, so far as politics is involved, I think that there was a lot of bipartisan approval of it. I mean, I think everybody recognizes, look, this is not working. You know, jamming our jails up is not the way to be, not the way to do it. So that's good news. But it's for people who are convicted on July 1 or committed the crime July 1 or after, convicted after that. So I've kind of gone on for a bit.
So you're stuck with the other ones that before?
Yeah,
that?
they're going to have to work their way through whatever. I mean, if you were sentenced to 365 days in the county jail in May,
Still be under the same law.
you still got to do that. So so you got any other questions before I go to the next step?
You go into a different item, or do you?
Yeah.
I'll just let you go down your list and ask you any questions they have when you're done, unless you got a question on that issue.
I've got a couple, I guess,
Okay.
we can address. To what extent do you play a role in that sentencing, if you will? Whether you're going to be incarcerated and for how long?
Right. Well, we play an active role in that. And, you know, I won't say always, but most of the time, you know, it's the prosecutor that's trying to get them into the DOC. It's the public defender trying to get some other sentence there. So in sentencing, it is, you know, the state has an argument and the defense has an argument, and then the court makes a determination as to what the sentence is going to be. The state, the prosecutor does not write the sentence.
Right. How often are you two in agreement, the public defender and it seems like both of you are working toward a common goal.
Right.
So should you not most of the time be in agreement with this? Does that happen
I wouldn't
often or
say
not?
most, but I mean, you raise a good point. I think there's a lot of agreement on misdemeanors, things like that. I think there's even an agreement on first-time offenders on drug offenses, so long as it's not a dealing offense. We all agree this person needs help. The question is where do we get that person help? Okay, when the jail at one time had really excellent programs until the construction started, and then, you know, I think they had to stop that, but they were doing an excellent job out there. But we agree a lot of times to say, okay, send this guy to treatment and see if it works. If he runs from treatment, if he gets kicked out of treatment, if he uses again, then we'll be back in front of the court and argue for a different sentence. But I think we agree probably more than we don't. The thing that we don't agree on a lot is what the exact sentence should be. Okay, it's rare that a public defender will agree that his or her client needs to go to the Indiana Department of Corrections for 25 years, you know. But I believe there are cases where they should.
You mentioned programs, though, at the jail. Were these in-house programs that?
Yes, the sheriff put those on. He got the people in, and Mike could tell you more about them, but they were like there was an MRT program. They would go to classes. They had, I think John Esplin came in, did a phenomenal job, and they would have classes on you know, changing the way you're thinking and living and things of that
Were these
nature.
outpatient, or were these inmates that are already incarcerated?
They're already incarcerated, yeah. And usually the people taking advantage of that were in there on pretrial. I mean, they were awaiting their case to be tried or sentencing. I haven't kept an accurate number on how many people we have agreed to send to rehab. I feel confident that over the last, say, 3 years, 4 years, we have worked toward that end in more cases than ever before, probably combined. Because there are more places that are helping these people. You know, I mean, someday maybe I can bring some of the people from Truman House up here, some of the guys that have gone there, that are really just nothing short of a miracle. I mean, people that are just as bad off as an addict as you can be, and now they're working jobs, you know, which I think is critical. You know, I think you've got to get them to the point where they can work and start taking responsibility for what they do. But truly, some miraculous things out of that place. So that's been a real benefit. And there's a place in Indianapolis for females that's really really done great things too.
Is Hamilton House here today? Yeah. That's it. Okay. We'll talk later. We can go on.
Okay. So the next question, Tim, is what? That I think why the high amount of incarcerations here lately?
The one day it went up to like 90.
Yeah. You know, I wasn't prosecutor, and I wasn't paying attention to the jail population. I was, you know, doing other things, other places. But in speaking to Nine Alexander, who was the prosecutor before me, so we're talking going back, you know, maybe 20 years now, 18, 20 years. She said, and I haven't seen any of the jail forms, and she can't tell you, you know, there was the exact number, but there was a period of time, and maybe John was a reserve then, maybe he would remember it, when meth was like, it wasn't new, but it was kind of new. And we had a tremendous amount of meth cases in Vermilion County. We still have a lot. But I think the jail population back then was in the 90s. Okay. Now that would have been, like I said, you know, turn of the century in that area. So the population now, I have noticed it ebbs and flows. It seems like it's usually higher in the winter, usually lower in the summer. And as soon as I say that, it will skyrocket now. But so I think we're coming down. I have to come back to the new law on level 6 felonies. I think it is going to be a massive benefit. It won't be a massive benefit quickly. You know, I mean, it's not going to help with what we have right now. So the jail population as it stands now, why the high number? And I think, and this is just me, and if you know, someday maybe we can have the judge in here too at the same time and have a discussion. COVID, you know, we had never seen anything like COVID before. For the first time, I think probably in history, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but you had the Supreme Court shutting courts down, saying you can't have any trials. I mean, that's never happened in my years as a lawyer, and that's since 1988. So that's never happened before, which compressed, of course, all these cases because people didn't stop committing crimes. So you still have the cases you had when they stopped it, and now you add more to it. And it has been a nightmare working through that and processing it. I think that the great thing about having Mike and this what will be the board on board is hopefully Mike can sit down and say, okay, here are some of the problem areas in the public defender arena. It's not really something that, I mean, that's out of my lane, you know. I mean, I got to run my office, I can't run theirs. And the board has tried mightily, but there has been over the last, let's say 4 years, 5 years, a very high turnover in public defenders. Okay, so back to we'll now use John here as a public defender and Chris as a public defender. They're both public defenders and they're both handling X number of cases, however many dozens of cases that might be. Let's say it's 50 each. So there's 100 cases. John says, well, Terre Haute pays better, and they got an opening, and they provide benefits. So I'm going down there to be a public defender. So what happens to his 50 cases? Well, we've got RJ, who's a new lawyer, so he comes in and they give those 50 to RJ. Now, some of those cases may be set for trial soon, 30 days from now, 60 days from now, 2 weeks from now, whatever it might be. But John's at the end of his contract, and he makes a business decision, you know, as it should be. So now RJ gets delivered all of these files, and he's like, I need to meet these people, and I need to talk to these people, and I need to work through these cases and see what's what and where's this. And you know, most of these cases, probably 100% of these cases have body cam videos now. We've got thousands of videos, which is the camera that the police officers wear. So they're going to watch the body cam, they're going to maybe take depositions. So the 50 cases he had when he left goes to RJ, and now RJ has to get up to speed on that. At the same time, Chris just says, I've had enough of this. I'm not going anywhere else. I like the job, I like the pay, but I'm just tired of it. So he leaves. So we go find Mike Slagle before he becomes chief PD, and we hire him in. So now he's got that 50. So there has been this turnover that I think is probably everywhere, but I don't know everybody else's business. I just know ours. And it has been a problem. It's been a problem having a defendant represented ultimately by what could be 3, 4, 5 different lawyers, okay? And at each one of those changes is a delay. And, you know, it's kind of like, you know, delaying the train. You don't have to delay it for hours. If you just delay it for 10 minutes 10 times, you're there. All right, so that has been an issue, and I have complete confidence in Mike. I think he's getting an administrative assistant, which is long overdue. And you know, and we've got.
So how many of these cases are that? How many of these cases are that in our jail population?
Yeah, I can't tell you that, Britton, because I haven't gone through and said this is
historically, what has that been?
I've never kept that statistic. So if I had to guess, I don't know.
Mike, do you have a number?
I don't. I actually represent
one of the defendants in that situation right now, where the public defender was at the end of his contract. This guy asked for a speedy trial. The public defender didn't want any part of it. Plus, they're at the end of their contract, and so I got appointed to represent this individual.
But where I'm going with this is that there's a
It's-
cost to that too.
Right.
And there's a cost to them being
Absolutely.
incarcerated, so nobody has studied this to say that we should be paying public defenders twice as much, 10% more. Nobody's ever looked at it.
I haven't studied it, Britton. And I don't know the exact numbers. What I will tell you is this: the number is significant enough to matter. Okay, it's not like there's been 5 or 6 of those. There's been a significant amount of those over time, and I don't know, Nancy, if we just go back, say, 2 or 3 years, we've had what, 4 or 5 public defenders
At least that.
leave, 6. I mean, I'm seeing 4 or 5, yeah. So, and that also creates it creates a problem for the jail. It creates a problem for you guys. It creates a problem for us because, and by us I mean the prosecutor's office, because in every case and it creates a problem for the lawyers representing them. I mean, you know, Mike is smart enough to know that no matter what I might be charged with, he can't be ready to try that case next week. He just can't, okay? So as a professional who minds his ethics, he's gonna say, look, I need time here to digest this and to find witnesses and to file motions. So it's a real number, and in every one of those cases, in every case, we have to make discovery production. Okay, these videos I was talking about, the body cam videos. Let's suppose there's 3 officers that arrive at this domestic scene. They've each got body cams on. And let's suppose that the victim goes to the hospital. All right. So we have EMS involved. We have multiple officers involved. Maybe we have a neighbor or 2 involved, and we have the defendant involved. So within a short period of time after his arrest, we have to produce to Mike or the defense counsel the evidence that we have. All right, and our office, one thing I'm really proud about our office is I think we do it truly as well as it can be done. I think that I've got a staff that is just phenomenal. I'm very blessed, very lucky to have them. They're very efficient. So we package all of this information and we send it to Mike. All right. Now, because a lot of it is now done by computer, sometimes the thing opens, sometimes it doesn't, so you've got that aggravation. But if Mike leaves and he's got 50 cases, now we have to go back through on those 50 cases and send all of that to RJ, okay? And since Chris retired, we have to take that 50 and send it to the new one. So it creates a problem for everyone. I have been an advocate for pay increases for public defenders for years. I don't know, and Mike will know, what they're paid in Vigo County and what their caseload is, but I think that the thing that we're so glad as prosecutors to have Mike come on board is he'll get to the bottom of that. Okay, I'm confident in that. He will at some point be able to come in and state an opinion of, look, here's the way it is. Yeah, Tim?
Question I had is originally asked was, when we went up to 90, what, I mean, is there something going on in the community, or is there a trend here that made, I mean, 90 is a big number.
Big
I mean,
number.
when you see it, you're,
Right. Yeah.
I'm just
It-
saying is, what happened? And that's the
And
question.
a
I
lot
have.
of times, I mean, you know, there are some of those weekends or things where, you know, 5, 6, 7 people get arrested. But on that, most likely, it was a creep. It went from 80 to 84 to 88 to 90, okay? The other fascinating thing about remember the 23 people I mentioned that had been sentenced, only about a third of those are from Vermilion County, okay? So, and that's just a snapshot of the 23 yesterday. You could find probably 20 where 16 of them are from Vermilion County. But our law enforcement people deal with a lot of other people problems from out of our county, okay? That come to this county and do whatever it is they're doing that causes them to get arrested. So, you know, we're faced with that. You know, the reality is we're between two metropolitan areas, Terre Haute and Danville. And we are kind of the county between the two that connects the two. So was there an event that put that many in? No. I mean, I think it's a combination of things, of some delays, of maybe cases getting continued for one reason or another, maybe a public defender shift like I just mentioned.
I was a little worried, concerned with this situation because we're outsourcing all these jail inmates.
Well,
So I'm
that,
worried
you know-
about how's Mike's budget handling
Right.
what he has already appropriated. I'm wondering, are we getting to that place where, you know?
You bring up an excellent point, Tim, and one that I had gone right over. And I know it's temporary, and there may not be anything that we can do about it, but sometimes one of the problems is created by the problem you're trying to solve, okay? This outsourcing, if you look at where the vast majority of the inmates are being housed now, it's in Tipton County and Delaware County. All right. So we've got Caleb back here. I know he works at the jail and he hauls inmates around. I don't think that there is a short way of getting to Delaware County and back. I think that you're looking at what, like an hour and 45-minute drive there?
2.5.
2.5? Okay.
It's a 5-hour round trip.
Okay, so it's a 5-hour round trip. Now, put on top of that Mike here has that guy, and he's a public defender, not the chief public defender, he's just a public defender. And he's got one in Tipton. How far is that, Caleb?
Tipton's about an hour and a half.
Okay, maybe I got those two confused. So you got an hour and a half, which is a 3-hour round trip, and you got a 5-hour round trip. So let's say he wants to go see those clients, and that has created. I know this, and I don't want to speak for the judge. I don't want to speak for the public defenders. I'll speak for myself, and I'll give you my opinions. But we have heard a number of times in court that things to the effect of, I haven't had a chance to sit down with Mr. So-and-so who's in Delaware County Jail and go through the body cam videos. Or because he's in Delaware, it's been a problem, you know, meeting with him. And that's understandable, you know, I mean, it really is. I don't know. I mean, Mike is good, but I don't think if I lived in Delaware County, I would come to Vermilion County to hire him. You know, I mean, just because how am I going to get here? How's he going to get to me? So I think by where they are located, put it this way, and this is just my opinion, it hasn't made things any better. Now, maybe those are the only places that can handle the number of people we're talking about, you know. But I think having them that far from the jail has created difficulties for the public defenders. And if you create a difficulty for them, you've created a difficulty for the court, for us, for you.
Do you see any trends as far as our jail and jail population that make any sense, or do you? I know I'm not asking you to look forward because you can't predict, but I mean, is the rest of what we have, is it still? I mean, years ago, like it was a meth thing, that was
Right.
terrible, and I'd
Right.
say it went away. But what do you see in the average population of the jail? What is our big issues in our county as far as who we incarcerate? I mean, what is the biggie? Is it drugs, still drugs, or is it something else?
Yeah, I mean, it's still drugs, and even if it's burglary, it's still drugs, okay? Because, you know, if you look at, and Mike, feel free to give your opinion here, but the people who are, generally speaking, okay, and I'm only talking about those that have been convicted. I'm not talking about the ones who are in jail and presumed innocent. The ones that have been convicted. The people that are stealing things usually are doing it to make some money to buy dope. Okay. Wouldn't you say
No, I would agree with
that's
that,
a fair statement?
Right.
So would you say that's our major, would be 75–50% of our issue?
Oh, 50% easy.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you take out the domestic violence cases, which sometimes have an addiction issue to them, but if you take out domestic violence and you take out, you know, your random fight over something, or a OVWI, operating while intoxicated arrest, yeah, I think a lot of them track back. There's also, I think, more mental issues, and Caleb could certainly talk days about that. There's more mental issues in the jail generally. I'm not saying today, but over the past few years than I've seen before, and I'm not sure what the cause of that is. I can't diagnose that problem. What I can tell you is this, that I am very hopeful with the new law that is passed, okay, that we are going to see a decline in the low-level felony person who does time in our jail like they're doing now, okay? Having the ability to sentence those and send them to the DOC as opposed to sentencing them to the jail is a game changer to me.
The other thing is, I think is very important with the jail change and the things they made is, and you can attest to this, that the difference of the people incarcerated has changed tremendously. I mean, as far as women especially. I mean, it used to be, there wasn't very many, correct?
Might be a couple, yeah.
And the mental health issues, or the things with the jail and the changes they've made, I think will help.
Yeah, I don't know. I know we ask as a system, we ask a tremendous amount from our jail. I mean, the mental health aspect. I mean, you know, some of the stories, some of the videos you could watch of this is just it's disturbing. To me, the one thing, you know, I think one of your questions was kind of, you know, what can we do, or what can we do to address it? And again, this is more regarding the long game than the short game. Okay, it's not going to fix it tomorrow. But I think that we need to have a conversation as a county as to what are we doing in the way of a youth outreach. What are we doing in the schools? How are we handling juvenile issues? How are we handling juvenile problems? Because you know, juveniles become adults, it's interesting. You know, 4-H does a phenomenal job. They have a program called Project Lead, and I would urge you to get involved in it if you're not. And it's where Becky asks people to go into the elementary school and talk to, I think it's 5th grade class, about certain lessons. And the one that the prosecutors normally address is the difference between rules and laws. And what's funny is after you do this for a while is you see the 5th grader who's now, you know, on the front page of the Clintonian graduating, you know, and so you start seeing this very direct connection of, you know, the kids here growing up and becoming adults. We started a program the judge did with a grant, and I think that grant is going away this year, but we started a program called Project Lead, which I'd also encourage you to get involved in, which is we take juveniles out of what would be a juvenile case, a juvenile filing in juvenile court, and we move it to peer court. And that juvenile will come to the courthouse and will be there in front of a juvenile jury. The prosecutor is high schooler, defense lawyer is a high schooler, and the program is administered by Tia Hyde, and she's doing a wonderful job with it. And the great thing about it is, the thing that concerned me originally was, is it a judgmental thing? Is this going to be where John at age 14 comes in, you know, and has 10 people, you know, on him about why'd you do this and why'd you do that? To be involved in the program, John, I'm using you again, John has to admit that he did what he did, okay? So he has to admit to the offense. And his parents have to be involved, or grandparents if they're the guardians. They have to be there, okay? And so instead of it being a thing that could turn into a bully type situation where we're just beating up on John about what he did, they actually work with why he did it, what was he thinking, you know, and he's already admitted that he did it and he shouldn't have done it. And that program, it's in its infancy. It's only been going now year and a half, but we're seeing really amazing results out of it. We're seeing a very, very low recidivism rate. I think we only had one, last time I checked, only had one that didn't complete the community service hours that he was supposed to do. So after John goes through it, he then has to come back and be a juror or a prosecutor or a defense lawyer. And so what you find is these kids are getting an understanding of the system, and they're also working with each other in this community service way, you know, whether it's raking the courthouse. I know they've done that several times. They also get a chance, they will tell Tia, like we had one, you know, and hopefully he does it. But he's headed to Ivy Tech this year and wants to take his entry courses and hopes to then go to Rose-Hulman, wants to be an engineer, okay? So the program, I think programs like that, we have to find a way to fund them and to keep pushing them, but I think that there's we got to look at this as a multifaceted problem, and one is we have to start nipping in the bud these problems as juveniles, and then that's going to carry through.
Okay.
So I've gone long-winded. I apologize to the people here.
Might have you back sometime to talk a little more, but we're interested in what you have. If you get anything at Weeza County, I think we're all here to help you and assist you any way we can. And
I appreciate that.
anything like
Chris,
that.
do you have anything to add? Or?
No, I just didn't know if anybody had any questions for me. As I say, we can elaborate on this quite a bit as far as that. So, does anybody have any questions for me?
All right.
I think reserved
you.
for private time.
All right.
Bruce, I'll just
Thank
add
you.
that peer court, I think, is an excellent thing. I know we've used several hours at the highway department, and I know
Yes.
one of those individuals worked at countywide cleanup day, which I don't think they enjoyed, but
Yeah.
I don't know that they want to come back again, but it
Well-
was nice having them for 8 hours.
It's nice, you know, that sometimes that's the first real opportunity some of these kids have seen hard work, you know.
Well, I don't think he was.
um,
I don't think he was ready for what he showed. He showed
Yeah.
them some pretty nice tennis shoes and some
Yeah.
nice clothes.
Well, we all had to learn at some point, so. all right.
Who would I get a hold of on, for community hours, people that sign up to work in the community? How would I find that out, and how would others
That
resource?
if you want community service hours, you mean, call me.
Okay.
Okay? Probation is also involved in that because it's done as a term of probation.
Okay.
So if we go back to John, in his case, or Chris in his case, they're going to be sentenced to, let's say, 180 days on probation and 40 hours or 140 hours of community service. And probation will monitor that. The great thing is we've had some people in the community say, yeah, we could use that. I know we've sent some out to work in the cemetery outside of Newport, and I don't think they want to go back. That was a hard work situation.
I got a cemetery I'm working on, so that's
Well,
what I'm getting ready to
it'd
say.
it'd be great to have some of that, and so call me.
Okay.
or talk to probation, and then we can tell John, okay, you got 40 hours of this,
Okay.
and it's going to be under the supervision and at the time and date set by RJ or Britton or Tim or Billy Bob or Susan, and then we tell them where fire departments have used them and things like that. So that's good. And the more of that, I mean, I'm a huge fan of
Good.
community service. I think that's important.
Okay.
All right, thank
Very
you.
good. Appreciate it. Can someone go get Gracie, call Gracie over? We'll move around down here. Vermillion Trails, I don't see anyone here today with Vermillion Trails,
Nobody.
right?
Yep.
You guys, however you want to do this.
Just go down the list until maybe Gracie comes in.
Who else do we have here? We have Hamilton Center here. You want to go ahead and let her come up here, so, and wait on
It's fine.
That's
Gracie
fine.
to come. You want to come on up? That way Gracie can be over here and get out too. Oh,
Hi, I won't take as long, I promise. I'm just going to give you kind of a brief overview of our last year. Hamilton Center, as you know, is our local community mental health center. So what we do is we offer outpatient services. We also do have an inpatient service, but that's located in Vigo County. But here in Vermillion, we offer individual therapy services.
so your place in Clinton's mainly just a counseling.
Well, group therapy, individual therapy, we do skills and case management out of this office, yes. Now, if we have somebody that needs an inpatient stay, then we will coordinate with our main center and the doctors and get that person to Vigo County, absolutely. But I did want to kind of give you some statistics over the last year. So for Vermillion County, in the last year, 2022, we have served 570 consumers, specifically out of the Vermillion County area. 162 of those were ages birth to 17. 18 to 24 years, we had, we had 74 consumers. 198 consumers were ages 25 to 44. We had from ages 45 to 64, 124 consumers, and 65 and older, 12. Now, out of those 570 consumers, 98 were self-referred.
You had that, did you send that to us?
I believe, yes.
Yeah, it's in the package.
Yep.
At the end.
Go ahead, sorry.
So, 98 of them were self-referred. 27 were referred by Vermillion County Probation. 17 were referred by DCS, and out of those 17, 10 were in foster care. And then 16 were referred by family members. So that kind of gives you a breakdown a little bit of our top referrals and where those are coming from. So the good thing is that we know that people who want to get help are coming in. And I believe, as was mentioned earlier, COVID has really changed the game in mental health. We're seeing an uptick in, depression, anxiety, isolation, those social skills, getting out, where we used to do that quite frequently before. Even as we're getting out more now, right, those social groups are smaller, they're more limited to family versus those bigger groups that we used to have with friends, outside influences, those kinds of things. So we're seeing more isolation, which increases symptoms of mental illness, as we know. Our top 4 diagnoses that we're serving in the Vermilion County area include generalized anxiety disorder, so nervousness, irritability, butterflies in your stomach. Social anxiety is a really big proponent of generalized anxiety disorder, so we're seeing that on the tail end of COVID as well. We're also seeing major depressive disorder, post-traumatic stress, chronic, and post-traumatic stress disorder moderate are our top 4 diagnoses that we're seeing in the Vermilion County area. So what I wanted to do was kind of give you a snapshot over the last year of what you're seeing. We have 6 care managers currently in the Vermilion County office. We are sending, what's really fun, we're in the middle of doing some case switch arounds, which is great, because we have, out of those 6, we're going to have 4 care managers assigned to the schools in Vermilion County. So each care manager will be assigned to school. They will be going in and seeing kiddos in the school. And then we will have, out of those, we will have the others that are assigned primarily to adults, and seeing those adults in outpatient services. So we are also running our matrix groups, our relapse prevention groups. We're working on getting those back in person as we speak. So that's really great. We've been doing those telehealth currently. So, but we know that our consumers get more out of in person.
Have you seen any trends going in our county?
So, not necessarily trends, what I would say, but COVID has, again, kind of thrown us all for a loop in the last couple of years. So we have seen an increase in symptoms of mental health and substance use disorder. That social isolation has really increased those symptoms, especially of withdrawal. What we're seeing are that hopelessness, the worthlessness, a lot of that is coming into play. So we're seeing kind of how do I want to say it? Maybe the flip side of where we were in COVID when we were isolated. Now we're seeing the symptoms and the results of COVID. So we're really seeing an increase in people coming in wanting services, wanting to get help at those individual therapy services, those skills trends that we're talking about. So if I have a care manager and I'm feeling depressed and I come in, I want services, right? We'll do an assessment, we'll go through the whole process, we'll get a diagnosis. Our therapist may say you're recommended for individual therapy, but she's going to talk to me as well about skills training and case management services, and I'm going to take her up on those things, right? So then what that gives me is a care manager who's going to help me. They're going to do skills with me, including, but not limited to, anything from budgeting to coping to social skills, getting me out, but they're also going to help me refer to other community resources that I may need. And that's a big part of this. So if I'm, let's say, I'm on probation, we can coordinate with the probation office, right, and make sure that that person is following up with their community services. Are they attending their court dates? Are they going to the Medicaid office for their food stamp appointment? Are they going to the self-help meetings maybe that they've been requested to go to, right? So we are following up and coordinating and referring them to all of those pieces that we may not offer, but that our consumers are really in need of. So that's really a big piece, because a lot of what we're seeing is that our consumers don't necessarily know about those services, or they don't know how to access. Transportation is also a big issue that we help with. So, you know, we had a family this year that was really struggling getting kids to school. Our care manager called every morning, went over at 8:15, got them up, got them to school, and there we go. Mom's car had been stolen, mom's car had been wrecked, so we were able to help out and get those kiddos to school, which was great, you know. One of the other things that we've also been able to provide in the schools, we have a computer program, and Erica McKinney is our Director of School-Based Services. But we've got a computer program called Ripple Effects, and so it is on an iPad, and they are lessons basically from anything to social development, emotional development, all the way through vaping, substance use, that we can go in with our care manager and work with those kiddos on in the school. So we're really trying to increase the services to kiddos. That's our goal for the next year. Because again, as we know, our kiddos, if we can start early, as they grow, then they have a more well-rounded and well-balanced mental health as they get older.
Very good. Anybody got any
Yeah, that's
questions
the way.
quickly?
What's the cost to the county per
She comes over.
client, if you will, on the average, or whatever?
So I am not aware of that specifically. I'll have to get with our chief clinical officer to get those numbers. He's the one who deals with that. But if you give me some time, I can definitely do that.
Do you know what our cost is per patient?
So we deal primarily with Medicaid and Medicare. And we do have some therapists that deal with private insurance. I can't give you the exact amount, but I can look that up for you and get back with you on that, if you don't mind. What I can tell you is we have a clinical supervisor that does both Park and Vermilion offices, and then we just hired 2 new therapists for the Vermilion office with 1 position open, so, which is good.
Through the Hamilton Center here, is it only Vermilion County patients that go there, or is it open to other counties, or how's that work?
It is open. Now we see some Park County residents that may live like right on the border of Vermilion and Park County. They may choose to come over here for services. Same thing at Park. We have some Vermilion County residents that live right on the border. They choose to go to Park. However, the numbers that I just gave you come strictly from Vermilion County. They are residents in Vermilion County and the consumers that we serve specifically who live in Vermilion County.
And I don't know, do you also serve the illegal aliens that are in the area as well?
Usually, and what I can tell you right now is that we do not have any that have identified as illegal. What I can tell you is usually if they come in, that we would help coordinate those pieces to get them to be legal. So making sure that they're getting their green card, making sure that they're connected with the right services. However, I have not had any that have come in that we have on our statistics.
Does it, I know it's happened other places, but does the state subsidize for that, or does the county still have to pay for those services?
And that, again, that's something that I'll have to inquire about with our chief clinical officer, because I don't have the breakdown of those specific numbers from the state.
Okay.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And if you have any other questions, I believe you have my email address, so please feel free if in the meantime there's any additional information.
I do have one other question.
Sure.
At a commissioner meeting, I think 2 months ago, a couple of the counties were upset about having to use Hamilton Center. A large chunk of the money, actually all the money for mental health goes to Hamilton Center, I guess because of state contract maybe?
So I'm not exactly sure. I know that Hamilton Center is the local community mental health center, which means the population that we serve usually is assigned with Medicaid, Medicare, low economic status. So because that's our primary population, I know that that's been the title that Hamilton Center has been afforded and that the state has funds set aside. Now, the specific amount to that, I do not know.
The issue that they had, and I don't know that we have that problem here or do or don't, but apparently in West Central Indiana anyway, in our district, they could have gotten services for less. Now whether it's in quality or not, who knows, but
right.
But they were able to get, Hamilton Center wasn't able to absorb the number of clients that they had, or that wanted services, if you will. One, is that a problem here as well?
So I have not seen that. So I have been in my position since this past October. I came on as the program manager. I think you guys may be familiar with Stacey Emmerman. She was the previous program manager. I'm Mandy. I came on in October. I have not seen that here at our two specific sites, at my two specific sites, Park and Vermilion. We've been able to kind of adjust and take on the amount of consumers that we are seeing that are coming in. And that's why I did mention the fact that we just hired the 2 new therapists. We have a position open for a 3rd because we are seeing an increase in people coming in and requesting services, which I think is great. It means people are addressing their mental health and their substance use, right? But with that, we have to be able to provide those services. And so as a company and as an organization, we are really focusing on hiring and retention. Right now there is a big focus on that for the company at large. So I know why that's not been necessarily an issue for Park and Vermilion counties. It has been maybe for other counties, but I know that we're working as a company to address that and kind of hold the consumers and the services that we're providing sacred, right? It's very difficult if we have a care manager that's coming on and in 2 or 3 months we get them trained, and then in another 2 or 3 months they've been working with families and they're like, oh, okay, we're moving on to something else. So then we have to spend that time, get a new care manager trained, get those families set up for services, right? So our focus right now is really retention and keeping those care managers so our families feel like they're getting the best services possible for their families.
So it's fair to say that we are being served in a
Absolutely
reasonable capacity, or
I
more
believe
than
so.
reasonable capacity
Yeah.
at this point. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Vermilion Trails Alliance, I do not see them here. Jill, you said you're going to be doing an update in the next meeting, correct?
What I'd like to do is move the jail updates to the middle of the month. That way we have the monthly reports. You guys can review those, and then if you have questions, right now getting those monthly reports right at the very beginning of the month is a problem, and nobody has time to review them before the meeting.
Sound
But
okay, or
in
good?
short,
That's fine with me.
in short, our schedule and our payout and the work schedule and the payout so far, the invoicing from contractors is within 1 to 2%. So we got that correction down from 5 to 6% down. The delay on the control panel, service panel to the unit or to the jail has been rectified with Duke, so that is no longer going to cause us a problem in going into March and put us back on. Because of that agreement with Duke, they'll put us back on schedule, or won't take us into March with that anyway.
Okay.
So we're back
We're
on
on schedule and on time.
We're
Okay.
back on schedule and on time, and within our budget, everything is tracking well between the amount of work done and the amount of work paid for, and the schedule itself, and where we're supposed to be on the schedule.
Okay. Vermilion Rise, I don't see anybody here. Anything you want to do on that? Okay. Ordinance 2022, the monument, the second reading, you want to go ahead and get that approved today?
I have a question before, if there's a motion to approve, and then we can have discussion, I guess. Go ahead. I'll make a motion that we approve the ordinance. 2022-13, an ordinance establishing procedures and penalties for the removal or alteration of a section, corner, or high accuracy reference network point or benchmark monument.
This is second reading too. so-
Second reading, correct.
Yep. I'll second his motion.
Discussion.
Yeah, one for John here, and I think I assume it got corrected. I asked the question before and I didn't see the answer. Isn't the county limited on the amount of penalty? I thought it was like $1,500 that we could actually assess.
There is a limit. I can look that up and get it to you.
But we had $3,000 in here, and I just didn't think it was that high that we could do that.
I don't recall from memory, but I'll look the statute up and get it to you guys.
Okay. The other question I have, and this affects you guys, or all of us anyway, or the county, is maybe the exception of county highway and state highway on this. Actually, it can put us in a pickle, if you will. And I'm not sure that I'm in agreement with that state, and county highway departments are subject to these penalties and things like this, basically the whole shooting match. And I don't necessarily agree with that. The county will take the best efforts it can to preserve monuments and whatever, and I think it'd be incumbent upon us and the surveyor to work together as to identify where these are at. If we know where they're at and we believe that they exist, I think we would take every precaution to do that, but I don't think we should subject our county highway, I think we have a problem subjecting the state highway to penalties and different things along that line.
We would be obligated to fix it anyway.
Well, the county surveyor would have to come in, sure, but we're talking about penalties. There's a cost to this, sure, of going out and having to relocate and reset and put reference points in and all that, but to say that we're going to penalize the county at this point up to $3,000 at this time, I don't think is a legitimate, or it should be.
Who's that payable to?
Hmm?
Who's it payable to? The county anyway, right?
Yeah, general.
It goes, well, I don't think it goes to the general fund. Well, does it not go to the county? Isn't it written to go to the county corner perpetuation fund?
I think so.
So it doesn't go back to the county, it goes into the county surveyors. Kidding. Anyway, that's a comment, and I'm not sure I'm in agreement with that. If we want to waylay this approval for another meeting to ascertain that, or to get a better resolution to that, but I don't believe that we should, if we're going to do this, that should be included. The county nor the state highway should be included in the process. We'll make every effort, but I don't see us making us a penalty for our own county.
Any recommendation, RJ?
Since we got a motion and a second, I prefer to go ahead and approve it and then just amend the ordinance. That would be.
The two questions you have, Brett, is one is the penalty amount, if it's legal, right?
Well, yeah, if 3,000 is appropriate.
Okay.
I'm just not sure that it's that high. If it is, okay, that's fine with me, but whatever we have a maximum, whatever that may be, that we can assess some penalties. So, and I'm not sure, but it seems like we have exceeded that. But the more, as important, that can be corrected. We can make a motion to make that whatever not to exceed at least our maximum penalty. But
So we pass it, we go back and just amend it.
Yeah, you can just say 3,000 or the maximum allowed, whichever is smaller. If you wanted to make that small change to it, you could go ahead and approve it.
But the bigger one is the assessment and bringing the county into potential litigation, if you will, with the county surveyor, county highway, that is.
I think we would pass
And
and then
state
go ahead and
highway.
come back and do the.
I would rather not go back and amend. Amendments are messy, and they're not a good way of doing. We either need to, in my opinion, we need to do these ordinances 99.9% correct, or not pass them until they are up to that standard. Amendments get messy. They take another meeting just as much time to do them, and I would rather have this correct and try to keep them amended.
Could we do the final as next meeting? I mean, I don't want to go too long either.
That would be fine with me, to wait till the next meeting till we resolve that issue, or that statement. Again, it's not necessarily an issue, it's an issue to me, but it's
Also get it
not
right
a...
the first time.
Hmm?
Might as well get it right the first time, like you said, and have to go back.
Yeah.
So-
Well, we've got a first and second, and I guess I will ask you to vote against this monument till we resolve those issues, or against this particular.
Call for a vote then. All in favor of waiting? Is that you got to vote up?
Well, the original was to approve, that was the motion,
The
right?
original's approved, so if we approve it, then we'll have to either amend
Yeah,
it
so
or...
if you wanna wait on it, you'll have to vote against it, you have to vote against it if you wanna. So you're calling for the vote?
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna say aye, cause I wouldn't mind going and approving it, but I have no issues with waiting either.
Ayes, A.
Aye for a nay.
We have one aye, nays?
How'd
No
you
vote?
vote?
No call for no vote, nay?
I think there's
It's
2-1,
a-
you guys.
It's a nay vote then.
Nay for
It
me.
means,
Britton, your max is 10,000, so you're okay
Oh, it
with
goes
So
up
that's
that
it.
high? Oh, wow. Well, that's resolved, that part of it.
So, I mean,
No.
that answer just
Give me
came,
one
but you
second.
still-
It's 2,500 for a first violation, so I think you should reduce it to 2,500.
Is that by statute or by?
Yeah,
ordinance?
that's under the powers specifically withheld statute. For a first-time violation of an ordinance, we can't impose a penalty more than 2,500.
Okay. Well, anyway, we can read this next time, and then if we can meet with the surveyors.
We'll definitely do it. It would definitely have action this next time.
Yes,
And we'll drag it
yeah.
on.
Yeah, we'll resolve it,
Okay.
either agree or not agree with one of the two.
Okay, is there any of these other items you guys want to change your order to make it quicker? It's up to you guys.
Your next one's the records request ordinance, right?
Yes. This is second reading on that. You want to mention it? RJ?
Yeah, what's the county ordinance number for this one? Britton, Tim, do you guys have any amendments to the ordinance?
I don't.
And after talking to John last meeting, more or less just setting a process, because we don't have a process for this in the county. I don't see any issues with this setting a process. If there's no objections, I'd like to make a motion to approve County Ordinance Number 2022-12 by title, setting a process to request public records and ordinance for public records request.
Oops. I'll second the motion.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, call for a vote. Call for a vote.
I said aye.
Okay, I didn't hear you. Sorry. Aye, me too also. No nays. Measure passed. Default on this county speed orders, I think we need some more discussion on that. We talked about that, and it's kind of old for me, and I would like to talk about that in the next meeting a little more.
Okay.
'Cause I don't remember.
So review it and then leave it on the agenda for next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
You hear that? Okay.
Clerk must be busy upstairs. Okay.
Clerk collection, she's decided not to do it today. so.
Okay.
Terry Carrera leave 13th to August the 2nd. August of what? Need for a part-time custodian. Have we begin to advertise for that yet, or what's status?
One, we need to interview for the position, and then it needs to be in a meeting, so we'll have to have a special meeting if we're going to catch this, I think before Terry leaves, if he's going to have any, if the person or whoever it is going to have any time with Terry to figure out what he's doing, unless we have a person available now.
I don't. I just think worst case scenario, potentially, the new jail maintenance, person where that individual's hired.
I understand if we have to, push come to shove, so be it, but.
I'd
the
prefer to
reason-
have, part-time.
I think we could possibly use that maintenance person, jail maintenance or jail tech, if we had some significant
Yeah.
issue that it wasn't custodial or janitorial type process. But I want them, the reason why we're hiring them now is so that they understand the systems and how they're put in and where they're put in at the jail, so it's incumbent that they spend a lot of time there as well. I don't know, it's going to be difficult to hire someone, I think, for 6 weeks, or however long it's going to be, 4 to 6+ weeks. Were you going to look into that, RJ, or?
Yeah, I can. I talked to Terry a little bit. He didn't really, he had a couple recommendations, but ultimately, you know, the part-time salary is, you know, unless we're gonna pay a little bit different, you know, $10 an hour, I don't think is gonna.
Is that by ordinance, I read?
Well, it was the amended salary, and that's why with that email chain I'd sent out, you know, we'd both sent some recommendations, but $10 an hour, you're not gonna get anybody.
That is a council ordinance, I take it?
You guys do that.
We did that?
And so I think that's definitely
When we do
some.
budget hearings, when we do budgets, you set the part-time pay, the county commissioners requested.
How
Yeah,
old
we-
is that?
Pardon me?
How old is that ordinance?
2018.
It's not real old,
Yeah,
but,
but it definitely needs
Hard to
amended, I
find
feel like. I
people.
mean, $10, you're not gonna,
well, we're not paying benefits, there's no,
yeah. So I think that's where we're gonna run into some issues with,
well, I don't know that we'll find anybody
for
that.
10, yeah.
He can work elsewhere, a lot of places for him.
Yeah, so I think that's, and I guess we could potentially, well, yeah, I guess we could probably put it on our next meeting if we want to talk about the salary ordinance, the part-time next meeting, which may be prudent.
Yeah, you can amend the salary.
Sure.
Tim, if you don't have any
we need
objections, do you want to put that on the next agenda?
Fine.
Or we can maybe address that at a special meeting also.
Or either one, yeah.
Whenever, I assume if we find someone, we'll need to address it at a special meeting.
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
we're
10
gonna be
bucks is
prepared.
hard for anybody in
Yeah.
courthouse or anywhere to.
I think I drive anyway. It's
Not, yeah.
That makes sense.
Drive 20 miles, you wasted an hour.
Yeah.
Okay. So
you'll-
you're gonna be checking into
Yeah,
that?
Okay.
I'll do that.
So by next meeting, we'll know.
Yeah.
He's leaving on the, what date? 13th?
Next Wednesday?
Soon.
Status of courthouse annex.
If we hire a company to do that, John, that doesn't have to go through
That may be something.
a
Hire a
meeting.
company to do the.
Clean.
Cleaning.
Well, I mean, if you're deciding to hire a
be
company to
maintenance.
do that, you could delegate, one of the three of you to go locate someone
negotiate that.
to be on standby.
Yeah.
Just your decision to do that needs to happen in a public meeting.
Right. I think
Yeah.
that's a reasonable alternative, because
Yeah.
I'm not sure we're gonna find
Yeah,
someone to fill
I'll
in
talk
part-time.
I'll talk to Terry today, but I'm sure that Tim, he's gonna tell me the same thing.
Did you have somebody, who was it that he recommended?
I think he had told me that he just wasn't sure of anybody for $10 an hour, that he'd reach out to a few, maybe somebody that's retired, and see if they wouldn't mind, working. So I'm gonna touch base with him today and see if he had any recommendations.
Do you wanna set a special meeting date then?
It's up to you guys.
The 13th is around the corner.
Could we combine some of this? We have a meeting coming up, a special meeting. Could we combine several of these items into that meeting?
Sure.
Yeah, he could, yeah.
Because that's like the courthouse annex. I think that'll be included in the next meeting, a special meeting person is gonna talk.
So do you wanna do like next?
What's the date we have set, Brenda? On the next meeting?
Oh, for the, budget discussion?
I don't have it on my calendar.
Well, you're talking about next week though, and a person's not gonna have any time to meet with Terry or follow him around at all.
I'm just saying, we don't have to include them. I'm saying other items we got here, I'd like to include in that meeting.
14th at 2. If my memory serves me correct, I don't have it written in front of me.
14th at 2.
Okay. Include in that meeting then? Or that'd be too quick?
Well,
it's
he's
too
gone the
late.
13th. Yeah,
gone
he's
by-
gone the 13th. If you guys want, I can talk to Terry today and see if he's got any recommendations, and I can send an email back to you guys about calling a special meeting.
I think we're gonna have to probably just hire a firm that
That's
does
probably
this.
gonna, unless, like I said, unless he's got somebody picked out that I can send to you guys, and
did Terry consider that as a possibility?
Yeah, it was both. He had talked about the
Yeah, they
firm,
could
and
just say,
then he
"We're
said he had
deciding
one
to
or two
hire a
people he'd
firm."
reach out to that was semi-retired that
Just give somebody that
maybe.
assignment.
Well, let's- Can we not give RJ the,
Yeah, you can delegate one of your members. You're
Yeah.
making the decision in a public meeting to say, RJ, go hire someone to cover
that's.
this gap.
Yeah, I was kind of just, yeah.
I'm fine with it.
I would like to give RJ the authority to engage an individual or firm.
All right.
The other thing, it says in July to August, and it's got, is that a question mark? It says a question mark, it's actually a second.
Well, we don't know when it's gonna come back.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't know if there's any,
Maybe
complications.
6 weeks, maybe 2 months, who knows?
All right.
I have no
I'll follow back up today after some
Well, if it-
conversations.
And if it's a individual, we'll need to change our ordinance. But if it's a firm, we don't need, we'll just enter into a
Yeah.
contract with the firm on a per week or per month basis, whatever the case may be.
Okay.
And we'll need to draft a task order to that contract as to what we expect of them.
Okay.
And Terry might be able to help, Terry should be able to help with that.
Yeah.
We're gonna move on then.
Yeah, but I'll follow up today, and I'll follow up with you guys
Yeah.
later.
Wait to hear
Sounds
from
good.
RJ. The status courthouse annex, I think we need to put that in another meeting where we can have a meeting.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Include that with our budget meeting.
That's fine. Britton had sent
That's-
some.
That's gonna be a meeting in itself.
Yeah,
I
it probably will
expect.
be. Yeah, Britton had sent some questions out. I haven't put everything in like a formal writing, but I'd answered pretty much all your questions on there. I don't know, Tim, if you
Did you
had
send
them.
it out?
Not yet. It's in a draft in my email. But ultimately, like I kind of said before in the email, I think the one office on the first floor, you move it, it's going to open up courthouse space for a conference room. There is some issues with probation having some office space, but I think with a discussion with them and you guys, I think we could definitely work out the courthouse areas. There's some extension offices could potentially be moved down here. But ultimately, I do think moving that one office will open up everything and help with a lot of our problems.
Okay.
So, but I'll send that out in an email.
Okay. Okay, we need to move on because we're way behind. Status of courthouse annex, we've taken care of that too.
That should be complete, actually, tomorrow. It should.
You'll be sending it out?
Should be prepared.
It'll be
It's not been
sent
sent out yet. It
Okay.
won't be complete, or the study, or the interviews won't be complete until tomorrow.
Okay, the highway desk control, that's been advertised in the paper, I assume. She usually puts it in the paper.
Yep.
I don't know that it has or hasn't.
It has been,
Been
yep.
advertised in the paper.
I've had a few people complain about the price, but, I mean, what can you?
$320
Yeah.
for 300 feet, something like that.
Yeah.
So that has been advertised, whether they participate. This Vermillion County Asset Management Plan, I think it's our last thing on the item, so.
Make a
Yeah.
motion that we approve the county asset management plan contract with Clark Dietz.
I'll second the motion.
Discussion.
Monies, do we have the monies in the budget to be able to pay for this contract?
What is the total?
50,000, right?
50,000?
Give or take.
Yeah, I was gonna like read it again.
Nice
50,000.
to get that completed.
Yeah, if we don't, I guess we can go to the council and ask for it, but I think this is well needed.
Yeah, for what they're doing.
I think it's well
a good
needed
dollar-
for-
Good value for the dollar. This does put us out till, instead of July, it'll put us out to, assuming we approve it today, out to the end of August before it'll be complete. Does not prevent us from having the first part of it and starting into town hall discussions if we wish.
Yeah.
Okay, two things I want to say
But
is,
we need to,
Yeah, we got a motion in a second.
sorry.
that was discussion, unless there's more discussion.
I don't have any more.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Alright.
I do want to make a motion, I don't know, if not a motion, but a mention, that's a better word. You're looking for places that need granting for different items coming up. Vermillion County, I believe, got passed over the last time, I think, and this went grant process, so I believe in the, how far out you think that is, Doug, on the ready grant next time?
I had some conversations the other day with Ray Good, and he wasn't 100% sure, but he'll probably before we know it, is kind of how we left it, so.
When?
He didn't have a
Okay.
date.
Thing about it is, when these grants come up, we need to be ready for them. I mean, we need people in the community to bring ideas, whether you think you can get the money or not. You'd be surprised how much money you can get from these grants. I think Sullivan got like $3 million, got a thing for a hotel. I mean, it's...
Vigo County got a lot of money too.
And we got, well, the only thing that happened in this county was, the city of Clinton got $250,000 for a splash park, which, congratulations.
Yeah, it's
but the previous administration, if I want to say that right, there was no application put in from them.
Yeah.
There was two, but they weren't approved.
Just the one.
Okay. But anyway,
So hopefully maybe towns or other people in the county can get
Yeah.
with you. Or I'm
And-
sure Doug's got plenty of ideas too, so.
that's the thing is, how do we get this out so people bring these ideas and say, we want to do this project locally and we need money? Because that's a problem, we're not ready for these things when they come up.
I'd like to be like Vigo or Sullivan and get a couple million instead of
Yeah,
just
we-
200,000.
And with the little as we got last time, they're going to feel a little bit obligated, I think, to look at Vermillion County a different way.
Yeah, we want to make sure we're ready and prepared with some
But
ideas.
you got to have the applications. So I'm just trying to put a notice out, if you have something, especially not for profits
We-
or government or something like that.
Are we gonna hire someone to do that? We don't have any grant writers per se. except
You always
for
go
Doug
through
now.
Thrive or go through economic development.
Well, that's still a hire. We have to tell them to do it.
And Melissa would be available for something if we find it. Why?
So we're not gonna formalize it. We'll just,
What direction you guys want to go? I'm just trying to get the word out and trying to figure out how we can get people interested in.
well, for the 2023 budget, I have some monies in that if it ever, but who knows, even if we agree on it, it doesn't mean council will agree upon it. But we're floating right now between now and 2023 anyway, as far as any grants go.
But if anybody gets anything, let us know and we'll assist you. But the other thing is
Put that
the...
burden on Doug
What?
then? Are we putting that burden on Doug to come to us with any economic development type grants or what? Or what action are we gonna take? Any?
Well, I think like what Tim was getting at, or tell me if I'm wrong, is like last time economic development was kind of responsible for spearheading in. They only put 2 projects in, so are we more or less asking Doug to make sure there's more projects this
Would
time?
you want to spearhead it through you?
That's fine.
Give you some work.
We're tasking you, Doug.
How many
with it.
more hours do you have in the week left now?
So now we
Zero.
have a point of contact. We'll be addressing. Well, you'll be promoting that a lot more anyway, won't you? When you. But I think since come on up, Doug. The problem is we don't know. He don't know a date yet. So, but why don't we get prepared up
It's
now?
not just that grant, it's, every time I find out about grant, it's
Yeah,
like
it's
3
like
to 5 days.
3 to 5
it's
days.
due.
Yeah, the federal government sends them out, and you get 48 hours to.
So what would you recommend, Doug?
So Doug has economic development. So I had a conversation with Greg Good the other day, who is the Wabash Valley Authority Redevelopment Commission. He's the president, and he oversaw the last Ready grant. Him and I had a very good conversation. He believes round 2, we both agree there will be a round 2. The first round was more federal money. We believe the second round will be more state money because of the success that they saw. And so we are hoping with state money, there'll be less strings attached than what the federal government had. So that could open up some possibilities. Just to give you some examples of possibilities out there, I know down in Terre Haute, they had money for a parking garage that's going to go, I believe, where the Vigo County School Corporation is, right behind the old post office there by SU.
Around 7th.
Yeah, correct. So that'd be the 3rd parking garage in like a 2-block area there. Knox County received money for the presidential library for Benjamin Harris because his home is down there. I forget exactly how much money they got to renovate that. In terms of that, Sullivan received $1 million for a pool. I'm sorry, $1 million for the hotel, and then they received money for a community pool as well. So the 2 projects that we turned in, one was for the splash pad, and then the other one was for expansion of the library. I don't remember exactly what all the details were for that one on that. I do want to just make a little plug. Starting Tomorrow, we are releasing a teaser. It's about 2 minutes, but on the 13th, we have a podcast that's coming out every week. So we are doing a podcast. Our first guest is Greg Good. We go all over the Ready Grant, what it was. He does a wonderful job of explaining it. It's about a half-hour podcast. It's called A Vermilion Reasons in Indiana is the name of the podcast. The teaser comes out tomorrow. And then with the 13th, we have Greg Good. I'm looking at the calendar. The 20th is Dan Nelson from North Vermilion School Corporation. He's talking about that. The 27th, we have TJ Warren on, who's the president and CEO of Valley Professionals. We're recording, I hope tomorrow things go right, with South Vermilion School. So what we're doing with this project is really pumping out some great things. We're going to be talking about the festivals and stuff, and really getting out with social media to promote who we are, what things that we have here, to bring some attention to the county. So if you have suggestions on guests, please let me know. But
And it's called A Vermilion Reasons.
A Vermilion Reasons
in
in Indiana. Kind of a play on words in terms of that. The teaser goes out tomorrow, and then the 13th we'll have our first full episode with Greg Good. He does a wonderful job of explaining the Ready Grant and what he is looking for in round 2. So hopefully that'll give some of the communities an idea there. So
Is there any way that could be put on our county site under another heading or something?
yeah, we can. Yeah, we'll have.
I'm sure there'd be a
once
link
it's-
or something.
Absolutely, yeah.
Is this a
So-
live podcast?
It's not live. I don't trust myself that much.
Oh.
So it is recording, and so like I said, they're running about 30 minutes. We've already got 3 of them saved, recorded, and they're running about 30 minutes. And it's just another way to promote Vermilion County. I will tell you that we did have one community that we were informed by RGL Solutions that really likes what we are doing with the Facebook and social media so much that they've asked RGL to basically duplicate, but not economic development, but do it for their city.
Oh, wow.
Do
And
we
so
get
I think that's
royalty on
really
this?
a testimony of what we've been able to do is be able to have others outside of Vermilion County look at us and see what we're doing.
Do we get a royalty?
Or a discount for like a referral,
Yeah, no kidding.
for a referral.
So, but just a couple of things. Oh, and the other thing I'll say real quickly, and then I'll leave, is that we did last week our community surveys. On Monday, we had 14 people show up for the Clinton one. Then we had 21 on Thursday. So now RGL Solutions is taking everything that everybody said, plus the online surveys, that as of Thursday, we had over 220 residents take that, so I'm assuming it's went up. And then over the next few weeks, months, they're going to start throwing different ideas to us, and then we will start whittling that down. So we are moving in the right direction. Takes a little time, but we want to make sure we get it right.
That being said, we have the RGL contract review. We need to schedule for our next meeting as to.
Yep, we can have somebody.
And also, if they could
Continue
use
that
local
contract.
pictures, I don't know if they're using.
Yeah, the
pictures
stock,
from-
we have had that
They're not. I think
conversation.
It's not
with them.
Vermilion County, and I
Yeah.
think we do need to use if we're advertising Vermilion County, I think we need to use Vermilion County pictures. That's my personal.
I will agree with that, and,
Yeah.
and so I will make sure that they're not using stock photos, but more photos.
Well, we got
of-
some beautiful
yeah.
landscapes.
Oh,
too.
absolutely.
We got some really nice.
Yeah, it's a beautiful county.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Any other public comment? One announcement I do want to make, the boat race is going up on August the 27th at noon from from Montezuma to Clinton, and be a fundraiser for Park Vermilion Humane Shelter. It's a nice event for people to get on the river. One of the big things I think we ought to do more promoting of is use of the river.
Yep.
And last year we raised $10,000 for the Humane Shelter, and hopefully we can do the same thing again for them. So we've had very good response. The people, especially emergency management, Mark O'Hare did a wonderful job last year, and City of Clinton, everybody worked together. So it's a good program, and we're going to do it again this year. Anyone got any public comment? Everybody still awake? Any of you guys got any closing comments?
I'm good.
Got a motion?
Make a motion that we adjourn.
Second the motion.
No discussion?
I rolled right past it.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you for attending.
Oh, we got solid waste next.